And what happened, what the FCC orders relates to, 2007 is the first of a series of orders. The FCC decided that they would interpret what that language, unreasonable denial or unreasonable refusal to grant competitive, what that language in the statute means. And they issued an order explaining what an unreasonable refusal to grant a competitive franchise might look like. And they said a number of things that a lot of you are familiar with, one of which was cities that try to impose level playing field obligations, cities, local franchising authorities, that is unreasonable. It is unreasonable to expect a new competitor to match the old incumbent with respect to level playing field issues promptly, immediately, on day one. The FCC also said, though, that state requirements, state-imposed requirements, are not invalid, are not unreasonable. The record is what they really said. The record wasn't sufficient to conclude that state-level playing field and similar obligations were unreasonable, and so they left those alone. So the FCC franchising order issue is that both CenturyLink and now Frontier have made the argument in their applications to cities that the FCC orders, although they preserve state laws, should be understood to preempt Minnesota's state law on level playing field because cities have to implement it. I realize that's lawyerese, but that is the argument, and it's made over the course of a lot of pages, a number of pages in CenturyLink's applications and now in Frontier's applications. And I guess what's interesting, and where I was going with all this is, what's really interesting about that is it's almost verbatim the same argument. The reason that it is almost verbatim the same argument is there's a lot of cross-pollinizing between the companies. I'd stop there, but there's a lot of very, very similar language in the applications, and that same argument is made both by CenturyLink and Frontier. Number two area where there's a great deal of similarity is service area. Everybody again in the room that raised their hands understand that service area is kind of the issue, the crux of the potential legal issue, if there is one, with the advent of video competition from CenturyLink and now Frontier. CenturyLink's proposal to a lot of the cities in this room was that they wanted to have a market success-based model for serving your cities. And what that turned out to mean was they would commit to providing initially 15% of the households in your communities with video service. And they would then build out further, expand that video service further as the take rate within the areas that they served was sufficient. And sufficient meant 27.5% of the folks able to get the service from them took it. So that was the market-based success model that CenturyLink proposed to your communities. They backed that proposal up with maps that showed in your communities that they would serve on day one more than that, likely. I think in every case that's true, but I don't know every case, so I can't say that. But certainly in the cases that I'm familiar with, they showed maps that showed significantly more than 15% of the community getting service. Frontier's approach is exactly the same. And that may make some sense. If you're going to have two large incumbent phone companies providing video, they're going to make the same proposal for build-out. But it is noteworthy. Their proposal on that is unique, or is noteworthy and is identical. What's interesting, I think, about it is the argument made by Frontier is also identical. The Frontier argument is that they are concerned, and rightly so, about setting a precedent if they agree to a different kind of a build-out, a more robust or a faster or a more concrete build-out. They're worried that that same agreement that they make with a community I represent is going to show up in Brian Grogan's community across this community, and then it's going to show up in Spokane, Washington, and then it's going to show up in a suburb of New York City. That's a fair concern. We work that way. Cities talk, right? And we communicate about these things, and so it's a right concern. What I find interesting about that concern is that their answer to we don't want to set a precedent is to set a precedent, right? To come in and say we have a model and this is the only thing we want to talk about. 15% of homes served initially, and we build out from that. Number one. Number 10, and Frontier makes that argument, and as CenturyLink has said, and I totally appreciate it, I told Patrick this, appreciate the argument. Their argument is, look, we have limited capital, we have lots of places to want video, we have to make choices, this is our proposal. Frontier says the same thing, they say it a different way, and I've heard it said so many times I had to write it down here. They say we've got $100 million dedicated to our video rollout, our company-wide video rollout, and we got $1 billion of investment to make if we wanted to get video to every home. It's the same argument, right? It's the, please, this is our proposal, and if you don't want it, we're going to have to go somewhere else. So, I'm not going to talk much about number 2, commit to the maps. That's a concept that I'd be happy to talk about if folks have questions about it. But commit to the maps is, I guess I'm going to talk about, is the idea that they would, the companies would, CenturyLink and Frontier, actually make the commitment to what they've shown us. Commit to the service area that they can provide on day 1 or the second year, or however long it takes, some short period of time. Commit to that in some way. And of course, the some way is the devil's in the detail, but commit to that in some way. That really renders the 15% threshold much less important. If the map shows 50% on day 1 or the second year, 15%, you're well past it at the outset. So that is a concept that I guess I'm announcing to you that some cities have talked to Frontier about in response to their proposal that matches CenturyLink. Burnsville Split talked about that. PEG, community program. Here we see some daylight between CenturyLink